Welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. I am Nick Niehaus, joined always by Eric Lilly. We are back with the midweek show, and Day Thomas and Connor Hickman likely back on next year's team. At least that's what Wes Miller said today in his press conference. Eric, we'll start off with that. Then we're going to talk about Wednesday night's game against Kansas State, and we have a poll of the week. No mailbag on today's show, but the poll of the week coming from your Twitter account this week. And I just liked it so much that we're going to talk about that instead. So starting off with Connor Hickman and Day Thomas, the big news of Tuesday is that they're not walking on senior day in the game against Kansas State. That's what Wes Miller said. So we have been talking about it all year with Day Thomas and the JUCO ruling with Vanderbilt's quarterback saying that JUCOs are going to get another year or two of eligibility. I believe just one. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but Day is definitely back, it seems. You know, if Wes is going to the pressers with that.
Yeah, I actually don't want to get quoted on this, but I'm pretty sure Day has two. According to the Pavi, because he only did. I looked into this when the ruling happened, and I'm pretty sure Day gets two. So
okay, well,
maybe he'll just be a 4-year guy here. That'd be.
We have our Juwan Roberts.
There we go.
But Connor Hickman's a little trickier because he would require a medical red shirt, and he went over the amount of games that you get to medically redshirt. So I think they're going to have a waiver there either way. Wes obviously feels confident enough for Connor Hickman not to walk on senior day. Thoughts on those two potentially coming back?
Yeah, I love Day. Apologies if it's lagging because my video isn't updating. Can you hear me?
You sounded fine, but the video was lagged, but keep going.
We'll keep rolling. Yeah. I love Day. I think he plays like a Bearcat. Obviously, I think we could say that he's not going to be like a superstar or anything, but to me, he is just a Bearcat. He plays hard. He gets on the floor. He's a two-way player. And the fact that he's hitting threes this year at his rate is, I think he's good enough to play for us. And when you're trying to build out a team that can do better than we did this year, having guys like Day and Hickman around filling out the roster, I think is a good thing. Hickman, obviously, we never really got to see what he is, which is a little frustrating. But one thing I think we need to consider here, and I know some people have said it, but just a reminder that we get 15 scholarships starting next year. And previous years, it was 13. A lot of rosters don't even go to 13, Some coaches don't even use that last scholarship. They kind of hold it for, potential opportunity halfway through the season if someone like quits their team or something, or an international guy. So we're up to 15 next year. A lot of teams are not going to use all 15. You're going to see a lot more like international guys sitting at the end of the bench. You're going to see some coaches take like a local 3-star who works hard that they might not previously and try to develop them in the program. More developmental swings probably, and maybe even more like guys like Hickman, leaders. Wes mentioned that he's a captain. It's very clear that they value what he brings to the team, even though he hasn't played well this year. So I'm fine with it. I also think, that's a type of guy you can recruit over. Like, we're not going to go all offseason and be like, Connor Hickman's our guy, right? So I'm cool with both of them coming back. And I love Day. So hopefully, I know he's frustrating, but I can't help it.
Yeah, I think my thoughts might shock you, considering how I kind of have spoken about Connor Hickman all season long. He was somebody that I had hyped up in the preseason. I was excited we finally got a dynamic scorer in terms of, look, we've had dynamic scorers in the past. Don't get me wrong. I just meant shooter, dynamic shooter. He could shoot it, but also, he said it in his preseason press conference. He's like, don't shock you. It will shock you that I can throw down, is what he was saying. But he plays pretty poorly, doesn't shoot well. I was ragging on him all year long. And here I am. I'm about to say that I'm excited to have him back next year. But the reasoning for that would be you got to remember the way that rosters are constructed now. You have a salary cap, right? Everybody's is different. Cincinnati does not have the same salary cap as Kansas, obviously. With that being said, I don't think we got the real Connor Hickman experience this year. It sounds like he was playing on a broken foot. He was forced into a point guard role for, some time because Day was hurt. You know what I mean? So he wasn't even playing his real position at points of the season. And I just don't think you lose your shooting ability to the point that he lost his shooting ability this year. I don't think that was really Connor Hickman this year. We didn't get the real Connor Hickman experience, in my opinion. Although, again, like I said, I definitely was not a fan of his play this year. But he's probably going to be pretty cheap if you had to ask me. I don't know how any of this works. I'm just a fan. I don't know any of their salaries or their contracts, if they signed for multiple years. Well, he didn't, because we thought this was going to be his only year this year. But you need a big in the portal. You need a big. I don't think it's worth spending all this money on a backup 2 guard, because you assume that now Day is going to be back. Hopefully Jizzle's back. There's your backcourt. We've seen it works all year long, at least recently, of course. And then you have Sean Abayev at the wing, who's likely going to start. You need a big man. Connor Hickman's a perfect guy off the bench at the 2 spot. And then Tillery. That's a good backcourt. Those 4, I think, is a good backcourt. You save money on Hickman because, look, he shot 25% from 3 this year. He can't be that expensive. And you use that money on a big.
And you also spend time. This is more of a football thing, I think. This year, not having to recruit a quarterback was just huge. You can spend time hey, this is our quarterback. Come play with him. I think when you have returning leaders like Hickman, who it feels weird saying salary cap because we don't know the numbers, but I guarantee the coaching staff's talking about it. You want to fill the back end of your rotation with those guys that are, on the lower end. I don't want to call them minimum players like in the NBA, but they're probably closer to minimum. And if you like those guys, they show up, they're leaders, and they can do a job. Keep them in and spend your time elsewhere. Like you said, the big thing, Wes Miller's career will depend on this big man that he brings in. I think that's safe to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
so you want to spend your time in, money there.
Absolutely. And I think it's probably jarring for some of our listeners to hear me call it a salary cap and where we spend our money and who we spend our money on. But that is the reality of college basketball nowadays. So that's the way we're going to talk. We don't know the numbers. At least I don't. I don't know what you know. I don't know anything as far as who's getting paid what. You hear rumors here and there. But when I think of Connor Hickman coming back, I think of a guy that we're probably going to get on a bargain deal because he did not have a great year. And somebody who can probably perform fairly well in a limited role as an old guy. And then obviously I don't think, at least I hope nobody has an issue with Day coming back, because he has shown and proved that he can be a player on this team and in this program. And if he has 2 years, man, that's something else. But yeah, good news. I would say today, I was like, this is a good thing. A lot of people are going to be like, we don't want Hickman back, but we need a big. We need a big, and we need it bad. And I think our backcourt's going to be pretty solid next year if we retain Jizzle. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's a little too early for me to just make claims on the total roster because, let's see who else is walking. I think we'll find out pretty quick this portal who's leaving. And then from there, then I think it'll be pretty clear what we need. And I imagine it'll be a big man. Maybe 2. We don't know about this French guy. He didn't play much this year. We don't know if Page is going to stay. There's so many questions, but I do think having those guys return at a reasonable price is probably the best way, one of the better ways to start the offseason.
Well, guess what? It's still regular season of this year.
There we
Let's
go,
stop
yeah.
talking about next year's roster. Let's move on to the Kansas State game. Now, the seniors that are walking, Simas, Lukosius, Aziz, Bandaogo, CJ Fredrick, and CJ Anthony, who Wes had good things to say about in his press conference on Tuesday. Big game, Lily. Obviously a must win. I know we keep saying must win, must win, must win. You have to win it if you want to stay alive for an at-large bid. A team that we lost to in the Big 12 opener on the road, but they might look a little different this time around because there's a chance Coleman Hawkins, Kansas State's star player, will not be playing in this game. Wes Miller in his Tuesday press conference said he's going to expect him to play, but it's a knee injury. And Tang, your favorite coach in the Big 12, said we don't know when to expect him back. So kind of hard to talk about Kansas State without their best player, going under the assumption that they're going to miss him. This is an easy game, in my opinion, for Cincinnati if you don't have Coleman Hawkins. They can't score the rock without him.
Yeah, Tang's my favorite coach, like in any sport in the entire world. Love that guy. Wes's mindset's probably right on this one. I kind of just find it hard to believe that he'll come back with a knee injury at this point. They're not on the bubble. They can't really. I think they're off. Like, I don't think even if they got to the finals, I'm not sure they could pull off getting in without winning the thing, which, they have the talent. Like, why not just shut it down and then get everybody going in Kansas City, if you think Hawkins can get a little better. But again, with Tang, you never know. Guy's a nut job. Hawkins' backup has been he's their highest block rate on the team by at least double. Like, he's triple in Gesson, and he's double Hawkins' block rate. You got on Yensu is his name. He's a good rebounder as well. So if he is out, it's not going to be like guarding the guy on the perimeter like Hawkins beat us on the 3-point line in Manhattan. That ain't happening. So it's still a similar team in the way, like, their guards are dynamic. They can score. Like, they're scary. They can beat anybody on any night. We have to show up. I really hope our fans realize how big this game is and kind of start it from the beginning, like, that we still have a shot here. Stop listening to the national folks that say we're not on the bubble or some local folks as well. Like, we're on the bubble, guys. It's a big bubble, but we're on it. And if we win 4 in a row here, we're right in it. So show up with the team. We got to be fired up at Fifth Third for senior night. And, like, I know it's not a tearjerker senior night, like, with SK, the ones that happen once every 5 to 10 years, and they might not ever happen again with the way transfers are going. So, maybe it'll be like the next year with Josh Reed. You never know, I guess. But show up, support these guys. Like, they've had Simas had some awesome moments last year. Maybe he'll make some more this year. Aziz, I love Aziz personally. He plays hard. He's frustrating, but these guys deserve our applause, and hopefully we can really – I think it's important to kind of win big too these next 2 games. I know we could easily lose them both, but I think it's important to show up and show, like, the trend that we're going on and kind of sell it to the committee a little more.
And we're wearing red jerseys. I don't know why this is the first game that we're pulling out the red jerseys. I had buddies texting me like a week or two ago. He's like, do we still have those red jerseys? I'm like, you know what? I don't think we've worn them. Moving on from that, I remember tweeting at you a few weeks ago where I was like, when we were going through the schedule and everyone's like, okay, we're going to lose to Houston. We got this left. And I'm like, okay, these games that people are just penciling in as W's are going to be way harder than you think. But I know I just said that this is an easy game for Cincinnati if Coleman Hawkins is out. I was saying that with under the assumption that Coleman Hawkins was going to play because he did own us in that Big 12 opener. I just don't think they have the firepower with him out. Now, Doug McDaniel's a great player, don't get me wrong. They are talented, but Coleman Hawkins truly is a game changer. Like that is a difference maker. So if he plays, watch out because this is a team that handled us. Now, granted, it's on the road, Big 12 opener. Wes usually doesn't lose these games, the games that he should win. So I'm feeling confident, especially considering Hawkins is hurt. I'd be feeling a whole lot different if he wasn't. But a lot is pointing to Cincinnati with the red jersey, senior night, all that stuff. But yeah, you know what else, Lily? I was kind of going on a tangent there. You know who played well for us against Kansas State was Dan Skillings. I'm pretty sure he had 18 points. So it's not going to be, I mean, I don't want to say it's not going to be that way. I don't want to just count Dan out, but from what we've seen in recent history, we're probably going to be relying on some other guys.
Yeah, I think so. And not to say like I don't want Dan to be the guy tomorrow, but I just don't think it's going to happen that way. It's feeling much more like the Jizzle show lately. And you know, Kansas State, they beat Colorado last game. I don't think they're turning a corner or anything. This team, like if you think we rode roller coasters this season, they went on a 6-game losing streak, then a 6-game win streak, and then a 4-game losing streak, and now a 1 in Big 12 play. Just crazy highs and lows. They do defend well, like for the most part. You'd think they would have given up, but their offense is awful. It's barely top 100. It's worse than ours, and obviously we're trending the right direction there. So, and to your point about how West doesn't typically lose these games, I think the one he lost last year was that Oklahoma State one at home, and this team is much better than that Oklahoma State. So we can lose this. So, but that was the one last year. This is a bad Kansas State team, and just like the last time we played them, we should win, even though we didn't last time. So, and as I'm saying that, Texas wins, so the bubble's getting
tougher,
fishy. Yeah,
I just, you know, this is a game that you got to win. Usually, West gets the guys going in terms of like when your back's up against the wall. They respond. I see that. I feel good about it. I feel good about it. And that's despite all the bad I have felt this entire season. So I kind of want to get to, do you have any more thoughts on Kansas State? I have some kind of overall thoughts, and I know we didn't talk Houston. That's because I think Chuck and Houdini covered it very well. That was one of my favorite episodes, is listening to the post-game Houston show. So if you haven't heard their thoughts, they kind of talked about the whole season as well. You can head to that podcast after finishing up this one. But anything left on Kansas State before I kind of talk about the season at whole, and then we get into the poll?
No, I think that's it. And if we don't release a podcast before Saturday, that I think we could say the same things about Oklahoma State. So it's going to be a similar game, similar level team, just talent's way different. That's all I got on the Wildcats.
Gotcha. Well, I had somebody come up to me Saturday night, a friend's brother, who listens to us, and he came up to me and he goes, "You know what? I've been listening to you guys. You guys are so pro Wes that it makes me sick." And I'm like, "Pro Wes? Have you been listening?" He knows who he is, by the way. So I want to say something. I got one thing. Not pro Wes by any means. I think the way he, constructed this roster was flawed. But with that being said, I am going to be pro Wes in this point, and this led me to how my thoughts on the Houston game and really the season as a whole. This is my only thing when it comes to being pro Wes. Like, and this is not just look, I'm pro UC coach always, right? I think he just meant in terms of like they're not holding him accountable. I feel bad for Wes because two guys you have relied on or wanted to rely on in the offseason to step up and be all conference level players simply haven't been this year. And they've been not just not good. They've been downright bad. And that is Simas and Dan. And so, yes, maybe I just convinced myself of being a little pro Wes and being kind of a Wes apologist. That's the word to use, a Wes apologist. Because I feel bad for the guy. Your two supposed best players, we said it all non-con, we said it all preseason. Who's going to be the best player? Is it going to be Dan or Simas? They're not good. Like, they haven't been good. I don't want to say they're bad players. They have been awful this year. So maybe I am a Wes apologist, Lily. That's what I took from Houston. That's what I took from Houston.
I don't know. I kind of am. Like, I don't think he should be fired. I think I'm in the minority there, but it's just a weird thing. Like, he does everything off the court right. And I think that matters in this fan base with how, like, the Huggins Mick thing and just the dynamic of fans here is very unique, I think. And I don't know. I think we're new to this power landscape, and we think this is like some crime against humanity that we are on the bubble again, might not get in, probably won't get in. And it sucks. Like, I'm disappointed, really pissed off, just like Wes. And I just think this is kind of how it goes. Like, this is when Mick left, I said we could easily go a decade without doing anything. Like, that's just how it works at this level. And to me, I'm just going to bet on a guy like him. I don't know. I'm stubborn with coaches. I think if he blow up the roster enough, change things enough, and I'm going to be right back in there. And I think a lot of other people will. They just don't know yet. But I don't think he's as incompetent as UC fans like want him to be, if that makes sense.
I like what you said. Like, I'm going to bet on him. Like, I agree with you. Like,
he wants it like so bad. And I think that matters.
I'm all in. Like, my chips are in with Wes. Like, I believe that he can go out in the portal and his focus is going to be a big man, right? And retaining the backcourt, obviously. And I just believe he can get us a big man. Like, I believe that he learned some things this year to improve upon next year. And I think we'll get better. And,
just worry we get stuck in purgatory.
That's the issue, is getting over the hump. That's the issue, is getting over the hump. Like, is the bar so low that making the tournament is a success, let alone making a run in the tournament. So that's an issue. But I don't know. Like, I think you were counting on two of your best players to be that, and they weren't. So that's my whole take, and that's what I took away from Houston, because Simas, he hit 3 threes. Some of the worst turnovers I've ever seen. Like, it looked like me when I got the run and gun against LaSalle High School in high school. And, I was full court press, and I literally got trapped. This is a running joke with me and my friends. Whenever there's a trap full court, I just turned it over every time. And that looked like me with Simas. He got double teamed. He just threw it away. But anyway, moving on from that. Season's not over.
I got a quick cutoff here.
Okay.
This is just a quick, you didn't see this. I saw a bracketology today of the 12 playing game, Ohio State versus Cincinnati, right?
Oh.
And that would be crazy in Dayton. And the winner plays Clemson. I want to hear your thoughts on that one.
Well, I think that would be the most attended first 4 game ever.
Oh, it would be crazy.
Ever. That would be awesome, especially given how we handled Ohio State in the scrimmage. But then Clemson, then Vic. You just know that
crazy.
Vic versus Aziz would be a spectacle to watch. A spectacle to watch. I could just see it now. Victor Locken nailing 6 threes against us in the NCAA
and then coming
tournament.
On the post game.
Oh gosh. Oh man. That would be something. Speaking of, I was gonna say, I keep getting on rants of the whole season and then next year and all this and that with the roster, but season's not over. Talking Big 12 tournament. You put out a poll of, would we rather it's as a 10 seed you would be facing Texas Tech, or an 11 seed you would be facing Arizona, correct? Those were the two options.
Correct.
75% said Arizona. I know that's probably what you would have voted because Texas Tech, man, they are really good. But those are the things that we got to think of if we're assuming that we're going to win these next two games is who's going to be that third game, because you look at the second round and a lot of those teams are either teams that we played hard or beat outside of Kansas. So that it's a real thing to look at. Now, any thoughts on seeding in the Big 12 tournament, Lily?
We're going to have a much more clear picture here. I've been looking at the seeding stuff a sickening amount. Like, it's honestly pathetic. So you'll see it on the timeline once the time comes. But Cincinnati fans, you want to be rooting for Cincinnati to be a 10 or 11 seed. I think this is not up for debate. If Cincinnati gets to a 9 seed, you have to play Houston that third day if you beat the 8 seed and the second game. We don't want that. I just don't want to play Houston again. I don't enjoy it. I don't think we can beat them. I thought we played about as well as we can. If you threw all the Dan and Simas turnovers out the window, maybe we pull it off. But I just don't want to do that again. And the 10 and 11 seed is the way around that. That gets you matched up with the 2 or the 3, which is Texas Tech is in the driver's seat for the 2. They have a pretty easy schedule here on out. It would be a shock if they lost a game. They have the tiebreaker over Arizona because the tiebreaker is record versus Houston, and Texas Tech is like the only team that's beat them. So Tech's going to be the 2 seed. I think the dream scenario is going 2-0 and being the 11, which you would face Arizona on day 3, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we talked to Sluter last week about what the committee does because, every year in the American, we heard about how Sunday game didn't matter, maybe even the Saturday game. We think the day's Friday where they kind of just set the bracket and they have a couple hypotheticals here, and then based on what happens, they adjust things for bubble teams and maybe like a 1 seed versus 2 seed type thing. So having that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that Thursday game being a chance for a statement win that we don't have, I think it's good. I think the people were saying like that we're done, we can't get in I think it's cope. Like we can. If we win these next 2 and then win 2 more, we're looking pretty decent. Obviously you want to win that third one versus Arizona or Texas Tech, but the games are going to matter for us early in the tournament, and I just feel better about playing Arizona based on recency bias. And, we almost pulled it off. I mean, we could have won either of those games, but Texas Tech is just a different animal right now.
Yeah, and I think we were just missing shots against Arizona. I remember going, I don't know if I was on that post-game show or it was just the midweek later on, but I was like, I think the poll of the week was like, is it the coach or the players? Because that was amidst the awful, it was just the start of the losing streak. But I just remember missing wide open shots against Arizona. So you figure you just match up better with them. Yeah, you know what? The issue with all of that, look, there's good news and there's bad. The good news is we are firmly on the bubble, like you said, despite what, you hear from a lot of people. You look at almost every bracketologist, we're either first 4 out, next 4 out. You need to win Wednesday against Kansas State. You got to start off with that. But, we're talking about all this in the Big 12 tournament. We'd be doing something that Cincinnati has never done in the Big 12, and that's win that many games in a row against conference opponents. Now, again, you're playing the first round against, bottom-seeded teams. Wes has had no issue winning those. No issue. It's that third game. It's really that second game, especially if you match up with Kansas, although they are spiraling. But you score 40 points against Kansas in the regular season. That's tough. So you got to pull off a miracle almost just to make the tournament. It seems. But it's possible. Like, it's not, maybe miracle is the wrong word because a lot of these games are very winnable. It's just this hasn't happened. So it seems like it's a miracle. But go ahead.
And the Kansas State game, doesn't mean anything. It's going to be a Q3 home win. It's a treading water win like that you see ACC and Big East teams have lately, where you don't go down or up. But if a team below you wins a Q1 game, they do jump you typically. So just keep winning. We need the win total to get to 20 and then 21, and then we'll talk, right? So not a great spot to be, but also at this point last year we were out of it and on the fringe of the bubble. This is a little better situation. Not great.
Not great, but I think UC fans show up on Wednesday night against Kansas State. We're wearing the red jerseys for the first time of the year. It is senior night, so we'll be sending off Aziz Bandaogo, CJ Fredrick, CJ Anthony, and Simas Lukosius. Their last time at Fifth Third Arena. So make sure you show up and be loud, because we need this one, and the season is not dead yet. That's all we got today. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review anywhere we get your podcast. It truly helps us out a ton. That's all I got, Lily. Let's see if we can beat Kansas State and take care of business against Oklahoma State this weekend. Head into the Big 12 tournament with some momentum and shock the world by winning a few in that tourney. See you guys.